Hey there guys, I'm John Campea. Thanks for visiting my movie vlog. You know, Disney's hard at work bringing the new vision of Lion King to the big screen. Now, we already know a couple of people that are going to be lending their voices to it. We, of course, got James Earl Jones returning as Mufasa. We've got Donald Glover. He's giving his voice to Simba. Seth Rogen is going to be Pumbaa. We just found out that John Oliver is going to be doing Zazu. But honestly, other than Mufasa, the name I am most interested in finding out who's being voiced is that of the villain Scar, of course, voiced brilliantly by Jeremy Irons in the original animated film. Don't get me wrong, I'm totally thrilled that Glover is doing Simba. I'm thrilled about Rogen. I'm thrilled about John Oliver. I'm thrilled about all that, but I really want to know who's going to be Scar. Now, there are a couple of characteristics I think an actor needs to have in order for their voice to properly be Scar. Characteristic number one, their voice has to have power. Remember, Scar is Mufasa's brother, and for a short time, he becomes king of the pride. If you're going to do the voice of Scar, you have to have the kind of voice that can command a room, that can command attention immediately as soon as that voice starts speaking. The second characteristic I think the voice needs to have is that it must be distinctive. I don't want a voice that just sounds like everybody else. Like when you hear James Earl Jones's voice, there is no doubt in the world whose voice that is. It's James Earl Jones. When you hear Anthony Hopkins' voice, there's no doubt in the world you're hearing Anthony Hopkins' voice. And I think on top of power, the voice of Scar has to be distinctive, quite like Jeremy Irons' voice was. The third characteristic I think the voice needs to have is the ability to induce fear. Now, that's not the same thing as power. Power can be a comforting thing. This voice has to be able to flip a switch and get into that dread mode. That mode where hearing the voice will send chills up and down your spine, and not in a good way. Okay, so understanding that I'm looking for a voice that has power, is distinctive, and can induce fear. Lots of different voices can sound that. It doesn't have to be somebody that sounds just like Jeremy Irons. It just needs to have those three characteristics. So let's kick it off with this. The first candidate I'd like to propose for Scar is Jeremy Irons. Why not? You're bringing back James Earl Jones to be Mufasa, and that was a great choice. Now, normally I am of the mind that if you're going to reboot something, you should just kind of clean slate it. But we all understood you make an exception for the voice of James Earl Jones as Mufasa. Well, why not just go one step further? Bring back the voice of Scar, Jeremy Irons, the great Jeremy Irons, to do the voice of Scar again. I think it would be amazing to hear James Earl Jones and Scar talking to each other, Jeremy Irons talking to each other once again in that bitter, passive-aggressive way that they do in The Lion King. So why not? My number one pick, bring back Jeremy Irons. Understanding they very well may not want to bring back Jeremy Irons, the next name on my list is Sam Elliott. Whether he's Virgil Earp in Tombstone or his incredible performance in Mask or Thunderbolt Ross, Sam Elliott has that voice that encapsulates all three of those things. It's power, it's very distinctive, and if he uses his voice right, it induces dread. There's just something about that voice that is just so cool. I love it. Sends chills up my spine. I would love it if Sam Elliott was the voice of Scar. Next name on my list, a guy who's made a career out of doing voices for animation and video game work, and that's Keith David. Keith David's voice is just liquid awesome. It's so cool. It's incredibly distinctive. Like the moment you hear that voice, you know exactly who is talking. Obviously a lot of deep power, and with that he could bring the fear. Keith David, a lot of experience in this whole area already. So he's used to getting into a sound booth and bringing out all types of performances for different characters. I think we could do a lot worse than getting Keith David to be Scar. Next name up, why not go with a guy who's been terrifying an entire generation of children for the past 15 years? One of the greatest actors in the world, Rafe Fiennes, the voice and the face of Voldemort himself. And actually, he's got a little bit of animation work too. Just this year, he was Alfred in the Lego Batman movie. Now, if Rafe were to do it, I wouldn't want him just to do a Voldemort impersonation. But again, the distinction, the power, the fear, he's got all of that. And again, he is one of the best actors in the world. He could probably put anything into this Scar character that the directors wanted him to. So yeah, this guy would be a no-brainer. The last name on my list, probably another one you guys didn't think of, Dennis Haysbert. Yes, the president from 24. Yes, the Allstate guy. You're in good hands. I cannot do his voice at all. Dennis Haysbert basically has the voice of thunder. When he speaks, rooms stop and people listen. It's that kind of presence that I can totally see Scar projecting in a new Lion King film. So yes, Dennis Haysbert, absolutely, I'd be down for that. Now, there are a couple of other guys that I don't necessarily have on my list, but I thought I'd mention them because if they suddenly announced either of these guys got cast as Scar, I'd be totally happy with it. Number one is Mads Mikkelsen. I mean, come on, obviously, yes. And number two is multi-Academy Award winner Christoph Waltz. I mean, I could totally hear either of those guys doing it. They're not my top five, but if they were cast, I'd be really happy. So that'll do it for my list of all the guys I could totally see doing the voice of Scar in the new Lion King. But the most important thing here is, Who do you think should do the voice of Scar? Do you like the names on my list? Is there somebody whose name is not on my list that you think should be added? Jump down to the comment section below and leave me your thoughts. While you're here, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you're following me on social media, on Twitter and on Facebook, simply at John Campea. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, bye-bye.